Hey everyone, this is Nova Scotia Thomas. Today I'm going to talk about some of my own experiences as being a member of my own church here in Nova Scotia. Now, if you look behind me, you'll see these nice little crucifix, little home altar I have there. Um, that's really what I like for a place to pray. You see, I am what is known as a traditionalist Roman Catholic. So, to those of you in the Nova Scotia viewers who don't know what that is, uh, basically it's Catholicism as of 1950, in layman's terms. So we church services are still in Latin. Um, we as Catholics only pray with other Catholics. Yes, you we think that salvation as an issue is something that means full commitment to Christ, and yes, Christ and understanding the Bible as he understood it and meant it to be understood, which would mean, yes, being Roman Catholic in order to be saved, more or less. Um, and there are a few other things, a few other points as well, but those are like some of the broad, for a very broad overview. I could probably give, I won't go into details as to why I could do an entire YouTube channel just on that. And I'm thinking of maybe doing that at some point just to give some explanations biblically, philosophically. But not right now. I'll just trying to keep this Nova. I'm not going to keep this YouTube channel. Sorry, I am going to keep this. I plan on keeping this YouTube channel Nova Scotia based rather than a theological YouTube channel. Just an FYI. But I'm a traditionalist Catholic, and I'm a Nova Scotian. So that does have an interesting interaction with those two worlds. So I want to talk about my experiences as a traditional Catholic who lives and has always lived in Nova Scotia and what that's like. Not easy, to put it mildly. So there are more or less, for the purposes of this, you could probably, for purposes of this video, you can probably we can divide traditional Catholics in Nova Scotia to two groups. I would say camps, but no, quite often we will go to each other's masses when and quite often when there's an overlap. So there's those who will attend the new mass. The new mass would be that's what, or the Novus Ordo as we call it, would be the mass in the Catholic. So the mass in English and the Catholic parishes throughout Nova Scotia. St. Mary's Basilica, the church services in English there. Basically, that's the new mass as we call it. There are those who will attend them and those who will not. I fall into the latter category. I I don't think that the post Vatican II Mass really matches up well with what was taught. I don't think it necessarily represents what was taught prior to the 1960s in the Catholic Church, so I stay away. Others find it more acceptable for various reasons and arguments. I don't want to make a fight with them. Um, we all do the best we can with what we have, but but there are two camps in there, and both of them have their own little difficulties, but both find it difficult living in Nova Scotia. So regardless of the camps, both of us would much rather go to a traditional Latin Mass, Tridentine Latin Mass. And by the way, you can Google them on YouTube if you want to see what it looks like. Uh, Latin Mass, Parisians Enjoy Simple Beauty of the Latin Mass. Google that on YouTube. Univoce Miami has a great YouTube channel from an SSPX Traditionalist Catholic Church in Paris. That's what we would like to go to every single Sunday. It's lots of Gregorian chant for church music, incense, and lots of reverence at the altar and in the church. That's how we worship, because we see Christ as king. You treat him as a king, therefore. Um, Needless to say, Nova Scotia, uh, there are almost no traditional Latin masses in Nova Scotia, even sporadically. Now there is an SSPX Society of St. Pius X. That's like the world's largest non-diocesan related traditionalist Catholic group in the world today. Probably the largest traditional Catholic group, period, actually. And they do have and at least prior to the pandemic, they did have a regular mission that would come in every month or two, and they would have a mass. It wouldn't even be on a Sunday; it'd be during the week, and it wouldn't be. It would be the simplest version, but it was still quite reverent, and it was reverent. It was still like a spiritual uplift. Yeah, but that's comparatively infrequent. There's an SSPX resistance. I won't go into it here. If you're a traditionalist from a come from away traditionalist and live outside of Nova Scotia, you'll probably know what that is. Or even if you're involved in the Traditionalist Catholic movement, you know what resistance is. It's like Society of St. Pius X, but stricter. I know you don't. I'm sorry. I know you. To all the non-traditional Catholics watching this, I know you probably don't know what that means. But yeah, there's one. They have one priest who comes in from who would come in from Quebec, from a monk in New Brunswick. He would come in like once or twice every 2 or 3 weeks on a Sunday into Halifax for Sunday mass. And now with the diocesan crowd, in some ways it's easier, some way harder. In one ways, you have they do because you're diocesan. The diocesan crowd is the ones who will attend the new mass. That crowd, in some ways, they have it easier, in some ways harder. It's easier because they do have a place where they will go every Sunday, somewhere, to go to mass and church. While the others will, like me, will just pray at home. That being said, the mass they may go to they may find it extremely offensive. So I used to attend the new mass myself. So just to give you an idea, now for those who don't know, traditional Catholics, all Catholics are supposed to, and traditional Catholics, this goes times 1,000. The bread and wine at Mass, the communion bread, that's literally the body and blood of Jesus Christ. That's what we believe. That's what I believe with all my heart. So I was at a youth conference one time when I was a teenager, and I knelt down, was took Holy Communion, kneeling on the tongue. That's how we traditional Catholics take communion. And I opened my eyes and I saw a host bouncing across the floor and rolling across the floor, being chased by a guy in t-shirt and shorts, trying to catch it with his hand. It was not the most edifying moment. Now, to be fair, accidents happen even at the traditional Latin Mass. Things like this happen. That being said, at the new Mass it happens quite a bit. I have seen hosts on windowsills. I once, at a university chapel, saw a half-consumed host laying on the floor. I have heard. I have heard I know there have been homilies in Nova Scotia where the priest said that Jesus made a mistake when he chose the 12 apostles because he chose Judas. Therefore, Jesus didn't know what he was doing. I heard stuff like that. And so, yeah, traditional Catholics are not okay with any of this. Even if we're in the pew and nod and smile, like, inside we're saying, like, what the frig is going on here? And so, yeah, that's why it's also one of the reasons why we go to the traditional Latin Mass. We don't have to deal with all this. We don't have to deal with all this stuff all the time. At the Latin Mass. Now, that's not to say there aren't ever any arguments among traditional Catholics. Yeah, I can just imagine all traditional Catholics here rolling their eyes at me saying that. We actually are known. There's actually a joke about what traditional Catholics hate the most: the new Mass, New Ageism, and modernism, or other traditional Catholics. We tend to we've gotten so used to being on our guard theologically that we tend to overdo it sometimes. Um, but yeah, we argue quite a few things, but like none of us are really comfortable with all this. So the fact that there are no really a lot of Latin Mass options, there's no regular Society of St. Pius X church in Nova Scotia at all, permanently on a regular basis, or resident traditional priest here. The resistance priest, who comes in from New Brunswick, of course, that. Well, what did I just say? He doesn't live in Nova Scotia. Has to come in. And good luck getting a diocesan Latin Mass. Especially now with Pope Francis's saying you need special permission for it. They need a special permission with the diocese to get the Fraternity of St. Peter priest to come in, by the way, in Nova Scotia. That was how Benedict XVI's allowance for Latin Mass, for those of you who know what that is, Benedict XVI said all Catholic priests have a right to say the Latin Mass. That's to be the Mass I would attend. And now now Francis says you can't do that anymore. Nope, you need to apply to Rome. So you can just imagine how or to your bishop. Some people are saying that as apply to your bishop in Nova Scotia. I guarantee you, it'll be interpreted as you have to apply to Rome, and sorry, we're not going to give it to you. Period. So yeah, like I'll say this in a Nova Scotia parish. and the modern Catholic parishes when I did attend, I did feel like I'm I'm a second class Catholic because I believe what Catholic Church has always taught and believed. So living in Nova Scotia, it's very it can be spirit. It is does feel spiritually isolating. I won't lie. Um, I, it does feel. I going to a mass that I believe in is very much the exception, not the rule. Even pre-pandemic, post-pandemic, during pandemic, it's 1,000 times worse. And as much as I do support the measures for the mandates, and I believe in social distancing, and please, if you're in Nova Scotia, you haven't gotten vaccinated, please, I beg of you, get vaccinated. Uh, I would be lying I would be lying if I said it didn't sting like crazy. I'd be lying if I said if it didn't hurt like you wouldn't believe. It you do I do feel like it does feel at times very cut off from my spiritual font living here at times. It does feel like that. Um, and I go online to just chat with other traditional Catholics in other parts of the world just to keep myself um, rooted in what I believe in. And so I feel it's just to confirm myself. Yes, it's not just me. There are other people in the world who believe like I do. Um, so if you're a traditional Catholic thinking moving to Nova Scotia, get ready for a rough time. I've known some traditional Catholics who moved here who literally broken down in tears after a while, and then after a few years left. It's not easy. It's not easy. And it's really hard to get traditional Catholics to get together without a mass. I found largely on largely because on Sundays we've all found alternative ways of dealing with not having a Latin mass in our own way. Some will go to the Nova Scotia mass. Some will go to Eastern Rite liturgies, Eastern Catholic liturgies. Some will stay at home, and what they'll do at home alone will be different. Either they'll just say the rosary, say a service of devotions. Me, I pray the prayers almost word for word from the Mass in my prayer book. And some people will watch online masses from other parts of the world. Um, but it can be really difficult. It can be really difficult and very lonely to be a traditional Catholic in Nova Scotia. So I've been asked a number of occasions by various people two questions. One, why don't you just go to another church? Because it seems like being a traditional Catholic is super hard, which believe me it is. And two, why don't you just move? For why I won't go to church one to another? Why not to another church? Because I do believe with all my heart that I believe that going to a church is not just about community. It's nice to have that, but when you go to a church, I do believe that that should be about committing to what is believed and taught there. And the fact of it is, I simply don't believe what other churches here, be they Catholic or non-Catholic. I really am traditional Catholicism is the only spiritual home I could find, and I would be living a lie if I tried to go and make it anywhere else, flat out. And I think doing so would be dishonest with God, be dishonest with my fellow man, and I'm simply not prepared to do that. I simply can't do that. Number two, why don't I just move? Because I could, if I moved, I would have access to my Latin Mass and my other traditional Catholics with priests and clergy and other people who I agree with on most things doctrinally and theologically all the time anyway. Well, I'm Nova Scotian, and I know that may seem like nothing to some people. To me, it means quite a bit. Um, I believe that if you are going to church and receiving the sacraments, going to communion, my attitude is that why are you receiving them? To give strength. To what purpose? To bring Christ to the world. And if I can't do that to my own to my own community where my family's lived for generations, I feel like if I were so disloyal to my roots, just up and leave, just because it's inconvenient to live here on some matters. Where's my heroism for Christ? Where's my heroism and love for my fellow man and my own community? Um, yeah, it's just not something I can do. So, but anyway, if anyway, yeah, hopefully we'll make another YouTube channel. I'll explain some of these things a bit more depth in this video. I'm already well above the time I was planning on making for this video, and yeah, if you're traditional Catholic, please say a prayer for me and say a prayer for Nova Scotia. Anyway, stay safe, everyone.